How about this new interface for Zoom, huh?
What's that, Eros?
The new interface for Zoom.
Yes, yes.
Since you have AI stuff.
So much fun, ain't it?
Definitely.
Oh, I gotta do the Strawpoll. Sorry, guys. Strawpoll time. Done. Show results. Woohoo!
I'm gonna do that again.
Oh,
Sorry, everybody.
oh, man.
Welcome to Linux Saloon, a place that discusses tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Yada, yada, yada. I'm Nate, and with me today, I've got Jason Starbuck, Jinda, and Eris. How is everybody?
Doing
Excellent.
good.
Doing good, doing good.
Well, we're starting off awesome, with that little faux pas there, so you're welcome. So I think, Donald, I did that just for you, so you could tell me no sound. Anyway, so today is a news flight night. We're going to talk about the news. Be sure to do the straw poll. We're going to do the straw poll here before we get into the news, but they are very, very much related. And but first, what have you been doing in Linux and tech? I think I asked it, but I'm not sure if anything came of it. Did we do anything exciting this week in Linux and tech? If not, I can pop in and share something somewhat interesting. No?
I was screwing around with a 3D printer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I gave
Speaking
up
my
on
language.
I gave up with my old one, and I decided that I was going to go on and try to see if I could find something a little better and a little more modern than the one I had before.
Mm-hmm. What did you have before?
A Maker Farm Pursuer. It was it's probably 8 years old. It was like one of the first ones. It was burned out of wood and held together with God knows what. And
Nice.
it will work. It was just to get it to work was always just too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so too fiddly to just get it to do a simple task. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. You mean you're looking at 2 hours just to get it to print one thing, which would take forever anyway. But that didn't bother me that much. So it takes a little time. So,
Yeah,
but
I got you.
after the thing about it is asking everybody about them and everybody that I know that owns them. Every one of them, they'll say sucks. Because it's the nature of the beast, because you're dealing with something hot and you're dealing with something that's supposed to be precision and it moves around and shifts. They're temperamental at best, all of them. They're all pretty much garbage. They're just, sure, they work, but they can be very temperamental. And after asking everybody which one to get, there is no opinion that you're going to get that says, yes, this one's great, I love it. You're not going to get. I don't know if you guys found the same results as I did, but...
Well, I think what I can tell you is I do not like fiddling. I love 3D printers, but I do not like fiddling with 3D printers just to get them to do a thing. It's like
Right.
you want them to just, print,
Right.
and
Yep,
and then sometimes if it doesn't extrude, or the extrusion is inconsistent, or it's going great, but then it's like jostles off the print bed. There's all these different little things that just drive me just absolutely batty with a 3D printer. And so I got the Ender 3 for myself, and I've spent I think I got a really good deal on $150, but I've since then put probably close to $500 in it between repairs, upgrades, making it a better this, a better that, just so I can extract a little more out of it. And then I got the glass plate for it to have a better surface. Then all of a sudden nothing stuck to the glass plate, no matter what I did. Nothing would stick. I washed it, I scrubbed it, I cleaned it with all sorts of different ways.
I put it in the dishwasher. I tried everything I could think of.
Short of steam cleaning it, I did everything. and then I'd put glue on it, and then it wouldn't even stick. The glue wouldn't even stick to it. And I'm like, what did I do to this glass plate? Anyway, so I got one of those metallized surfaces to print on. It's magnetic with metallized surface.
Right.
Now it's printing fine again. So it's just there goes another, I don't know, it was $30 for that, or $20, I don't know what it was, 15 something. It was enough where I was annoyed, but not so much that I was going to punch a wall or scratch a wall like whoever did in Jason's room behind him.
The wall's all scratched
being
up.
angry
Right there's
kitty.
Bella. Lay her on top of that computer right there and just...
It's just sometimes they just got to do what they got to do. That's what it's a nature.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, that
cat thing, I guess.
Yeah, nature of the beast. I suppose.
Yeah,
Hi, Bob.
Nate, my experience is exactly the same as yours. They for some reason, you don't know what it is, they stop working.
Mhm.
And you go through 50 steps, but all those 50 steps, only 3 of them did anything.
Right.
And for some reason, it'll start working again. The one guy at work, he has 3 or 4 different 3D printers. He had he had a Ender 3. He hated it. He said it was
Okay.
horrifying. He said it was the worst one he owned.
Yeah.
He had another cheap, crappy one that he paid $150 for that he says it'll print 1,000 times better, more consistently than that Ender. He says the interface on it was horrible. He had nothing nice to say about that. But the problem with it is that's with every printer that I found, no matter which one you get, someone's going to hate them.
Yeah, I think that's the way it goes. So, since I went from using the glass plate to this metal one,
Yeah.
it seems to have solved most of my issues. I have a
Okay.
direct drive head on it, and then
Mhm.
I had issues with the direct drive head. It wouldn't save the settings internally, so I can only really effectively print with Octoprint, and then I can send all the preparatory commands to have the right stepper count for the print head and all these other things. I tried doing different firmware to make it work properly. That didn't work either. So so without Octoprint, I would not be able to use my Ender 3 effectively. So because I have that Raspberry Pi telling it what to do, that makes it fine. But outside of that, yeah, it's just. Oh, so Jabalin, I think, like he's really ballin'. Must wear cool shoes. Says ambient room humidity. Once you get dialed in, the season changes and the change in humidity, and then you back to having problems. And yeah, that I would say that sounds about right. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Oh, Adam Grubbs is in the chat. Hopefully he'll join us and show us his lovely, lovely avatar again. So, and then Mike Chilson said, I left extrusion 3D printers and moved to a resin printer. I don't print very large prints, so it suits me fine. So what I really want is a large format printer. I think I'm not going to start digging through my tabs because I know I have it open someplace. But the printer that I want to be able to do like 13, like a 12.6 inch by 12.6 inch. I think is what this can do. And I can't recall the name brand of it, but it's a coworker of mine. He has this, and he thinks it's great. He thinks it's the cat's pajamas. He's brought in quite a few really nice prints that he's done, and seemingly it's a-okay. So, yeah, I think I might, but I don't want to spend like right now. You know, things are a little bit on the tight side. I don't know if I want to spend $900 for a printer. So,
whoa, that's a pricey one.
Well, I have a lot of friends, in the other community there, the Mac community, the retro Mac community. They a bunch of them 3D print because they want to 3D print the like bezels and stuff for their retro Macs and whatnot. And they all use, pretty much every one of them uses a Bamboo as a 3D printer. And like Joe from Joe's Computer Museum.
Yep.
He has, I think,
JCM-1.
Yeah, JCM-1.com. Yep. He has 2 or 3, or I think it's 2 of the Bamboos, and he's always doing, he's got the store, the JCM-1.com, where he has different things that he prints out for like blue scuzzies and that kind of thing, like the little cases for him and whatnot. So, and he has the Bamboo, and he loves it. And it comes with like a camera, so that you can inside of the 3D printer, so you can watch the print, which is really cool.
That is really cool. So Adam Grubbs says
this evening. Yep.
Yeah, he's playing video games with my wonderful wife.
Wifey time. Yep, that's definitely.
Yep, and I would say it's absolutely more important. And then I would actually question, why are you even listening to it if you're playing video games with your wife? That's my next question. But hey. Okay.
Gotta stop by and say hi at least, I guess.
I said I wasn't going to look it up, but I just did. So it's called a QID printer, I think. I'll put it in the.
I remember when the 3D printers first started gaining popularity. I thought I wanted one. Then I'm like, what the heck am I going to print? I'm going to print cat toys or something.
Well, you could.
I could, yes, but I mean, I can get like 20 catnip mice like $5. So
Right.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
Eric.
but cats usually will play with a lot of
Edge.
things that are a lot less money than that.
speaking of the Mac community, hey, Eric.
I see Eric's Edge from Eric. What's his? It's just called Eric's Edge. His YouTube channel.
Yeah,
right?
it's just Eric's Edge. Yeah.
That was like I think it was something more.
If you feel
more
like joining in, Eric, we can throw you the link.
Yeah. So here
It's
is
actually
the
right above.
This is the printer here that I was looking at. So, for what it's
I
worth,
think Eric has a 3D printer. I don't remember which one he has.
probably something cool. That's what
Oh,
I'm gonna say.
wow. This one's fancy.
It's very fancy,
Here's the
and
price tag.
right.
Yeah, it's not a bed slinger either.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's not bed slinger. It's got the
Right.
So the thing that I would like to do is, because there are no cases for my framework, and there are also magnets built into it, I'm envisioning making myself a case out of TPU. I think is what it is. It's not TPE. It's TPU, I believe. Rubber, and it put in some like metal strips inside there, so it would just stick to it, and then I'd feel a little more comfortable walking around with my laptop. Having it slightly. Got some bump protection essentially, so I'm not like nicking it up and everything else. So, anyway, that's what I'd like to do. But anyway, cool beans. And then I see Eric's Edge has got an older Ender V3. That's essentially what I have is an older Ender as well. Ender 3.
Soon to be using LMDE as my daily driver, says Eric.
Really? I thought you were using a Macintosh Classic. I've watched your HyperCard videos. I'm confused now.
Well, maybe he's deciding to try something new. Maybe something changed for him.
No, whatever works.
Yep,
Well, good.
exactly.
Good deal. So, I guess, did we solve anything with 3D printers? No, we did not.
No, it's unfortunately, I don't think you can. I think they're
Yeah.
all temperamental, and I don't think it matters which one I buy or which one I get. I think, oh, no, I should get one on sale.
Yeah,
Because
that's probably it.
basically, that was basically the bottom line.
Pretty much.
So, yeah, get one on sale. They're all about the same. They're all pretty much junk.
Well, I mean, you could say that about 2D printers as well, I think.
Yeah,
You
I
can say that
guess.
about anything, pretty much.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Say it. It doesn't necessarily make it true, but you can say it.
Yeah.
Right.
Although,
Well, I think.
Go ahead.
What was that, Nate?
No, you finish your statement.
Oh,
Because
I think there's certain items and things that we buy in the world that are more temperamental than other things, and like the humidity and all the other things that take in account. This is something that's going to be temperamental.
Yep. Especially then with the humidity affecting the materials and the kind of materials you use and the temperature you run it at and how much moisture the plastic has absorbed and if there are any inconsistencies by the manufacturer for those, if any like variations in the thickness, even though they guarantee a certain amount of variation, it's never completely accurate. So yeah. Anyway, what can you do,
Yeah,
right?
so you just buy one on sale and hope for the best and play with it and consider it fun.
Right. And 2D printers are also temperamental, but it's just ever so slightly less.
I've had them be a nightmare too.
Yeah, for sure. This laser printer I bought, it's all right, but that's the first one. Maybe second. No, it's the first one
Actually-
I haven't had to work with.
Actually, my dad's laser printer just passed away like about a year ago.
Just
You
passed
described the laser
away.
printer as passing away.
and I swear to God, I think he had a funeral for it.
It's probably in the
He had
family for a long time.
Oh yeah, he had well over 100,000 copies through it. It was from 1992.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
So-
it was a Canon, but it wasn't really a Canon. It just had Canon's name on it because he got it cheaper than buying the HP5 or whatever it was modeled after at the time.
So what you're
And
saying is it voted for several elections is what you're saying. And
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It did. It was for Clinton the whole time, man. You knew it. You could tell just by looking the way it was printed. And he never had an issue with it. And I tried fixing it because, there's a couple of things I should have replaced maybe after 15 years and never did. So I tried getting it back together, and there was the capacitor inside or something was dead. And I'm like, look, we can just let's bury this in the backyard and have a small funeral for it, which I should probably shed a tear to his eye because he loved that thing. That to him, that was the greatest thing in the world. It never really gave us any troubles other than the fact that
it died.
It died. Yeah.
It was black and white?
Yeah, it was black and white. It was from 1992, I'm pretty sure. Or 1990.
You said it was a Canon?
It was a Canon. I think if I see.
So I definitely don't make.
But did it support Linux?
Probably.
I actually got Linux to work on it. I could actually get Linux to work on it. Believe it or not.
Could you play Doom?
I had to write the driver, but I wrote the driver. But
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I had to go into the text file and change a couple of stupid things, but I did get it to work with Linux.
That's it's probably a parallel port, right? Had that. Oh, what was that cable connector called that had the little wings on it that you just kind of snapped it in place?
Yeah. I think that was a parallel port.
Yeah, it's a parallel port, but what is that port called? I'm sure Eric's probably knows.
It's like LP something.
Yeah.
T. I can't remember exactly what it is.
But it's kind of a robust feeling connector, really. With those like little metal snaps on the sides. Anyway.
Yeah, it was. It was an antique. I'm trying to figure out what it was called.
But I should probably check and see that thing still works.
I just can't figure out what it was. How I was so freaking old.
Well, what can you do? Centronics. There we go. See, I knew he would know it.
Yeah,
Centronics. Yep, that was it. Well, good deal.
Serial bus USB. Nope.
Now that we solved that mystery, we should probably move on to the Strawpoll. I think. Yeah. So Eris, how did that shake out?
I don't know if I posted it again. Let me post it one last time. I didn't get any responses for this poll.
Not a one?
No, I don't think so, unless they posted today or somewhere on Discord or something.
Is it a different poll? Responded. It's the CrowdStrike one. Yeah, I responded to it.
So I'll just give it a few more minutes.
Yep, I already voted. Yep, okay.
Yep. No, I don't see anything.
Well, hopefully everybody voted. So the question was, were you affected in either at work or in your personal life by the CrowdStrike outage? And number one answer was 60% no, followed by 25% yes, and then 7.5 other, and then 7.5 Tux Penguin. And nobody put, I don't know what that is. So that's good.
Yep.
It was pretty amazing, really.
At the beginning of the week, it was trending very heavily no, but then the yes came in.
Yeah. When people started having to go to work and fixing the issue, some people anyway.
Did you see that meme? It looked like a guy saying my first day at CrowdStrike or something like that, and it was a fake, but it was such a funny anyway. He's like a selfie from a CrowdStrike logo, and I don't know, there were lots of memes. The memes, heavy on the memes out there. So I did enjoy that. So, were any of you affected by CrowdStrike?
No.
No.
That was definitely one of the nays on that one.
I was a yes, but not because I had any issues at work, although those are all running Windows machines. But it was actually in the airport when I was leaving Texas last week Friday. So wait, 8 days ago. Yeah, 8 days ago. And there was the blue screen of death, the B-side, well, the happy B-side, or it was the sad face B-side. Anyway, the that were everywhere in all the terminals. And so about every 5 minutes, the lady at the counter is saying, we're going to have delays because there's a nationwide outage and everything else. And it was more than nationwide, but I mean, I guess it wasn't was not inaccurate. It just wasn't, excuse me, it wasn't as accurate as it could have been. Yeah.
No, nobody knew, Nate, communications were down, so nobody knew how big it extended.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to track that. My bank wasn't affected by it. My company wasn't affected by it. Although there was a disruption in one of the services that we do, that our system communicates with for coordination. That one was disrupted, but I don't know if it's because of CrowdStrike, but it was down for like 30 minutes, 40 minutes or something like that. Yeah, like 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday. So I don't know. I have no idea what that was about. But yeah. So I guess I was affected. I didn't have to do anything about it. I didn't have to fix it. So that's one thing, thankfully, and but I was affected by it. It did slow down my travel home.
Yeah, that happened to my friend. One of my friends. She was flying from, I think it was back from like Arizona or something, or Vegas or something like that, back to Maine, and she ended up getting, that happened, and it took her 3 or 4 days to finally get home.
Oh wow!
Because she had to fly into one place. Basically, the way that whatever airline she was flying, they had her fly into one location, and then that location had to find her flight to get her to it, because it was not a pleasant trip. Thankfully, I think it was Delta. They put her up. They did feed them, gave them food, gave them room and board and stuff like that for all the steps. Because it's obviously technically wasn't Delta's fault either, or airline's fault, but they had to cover it for their the customers. They did what was right.
Right. Well, it's good they did what was right. I think that's important. I mean, they could have been jerks about it, and they weren't.
They could have, yeah. This is not our problem. Shoo.
So I don't. Eric said they don't know how many systems were down. Excuse me.
No, I'm just saying. When it started happening, nobody knew what was happening. People thought it might have been like some kind of cyber attack, or maybe it was ransomware or something. I don't know. It could be anything at that point. But then they started coming out that it was CrowdStrike.
Yeah.
Now that's a virus checker.
It is.
It's like it's a security system, so it tries to learn if something weird is happening with a system that it protects, and then if it notices something weird, then it like sends it back to their central servers, and that way it can deploy to other computers. So it does like heuristics, and I think it also does like specific signatures for things.
So the driver itself was signed. So it's a kernel level driver in Windows, and it's there because where it has to have the control to do certain monitoring is kind of part of the requirement. Is essentially part of the requirement. And what happened was an update that not all updates are certified by Microsoft. In fact, they aren't, because if they had to wait for the certification process, it would take too long. So 0 days would be of a greater threat. So what happened was this update that came through didn't have proper quality assurance, essentially, and so it had a bad bit of data. I can't remember the exact. What it was just.
They had a null pointer.
It was null.
It was a null pointer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so basically just one, and then if the kernel detects that there's something wrong, that's why it gives you the blue screen of death. I think Dave's Garage, he's a retired Microsoft engineer, and he gave a really good breakdown on what happened, and also some interesting things that he did bring up. So I mean, of course, he's a Microsoft apologist or whatever, but I don't blame him. although he runs a Mac normally, which is kind of funny to me. But anyway,
See, that's an interesting point, uh, detail you gave there.
it is. So uh, anyway, the apparently Microsoft did have a system. It was an API that they're going to deploy so that things like this could use the API instead and whatnot. But it was actually the European Union regulations that prevented it because of some sort of antitrust thing, that not everyone could have the same level of access or something like that. And so really, you could say this whole issue happened because the API was not utilized, but couldn't be utilized because of restrictions and regulations from the European Union. And so that's why it wasn't, that's what actually held it up. At least that's what Dave from Dave's Garage said. And so I think that the reasoning being like, because it's monopolistic or whatever, like, or something like that, I think that's kind of a garbage statement because, I mean, I don't use Windows.
Well,
monopoly.
I'm sorry, but I don't understand the fact that, me being an engineer, you always have this factor of safety. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a factor of safety, to me, if you go, oh, we're going to make this software and it's going to update for, 90% of the computers on the planet, you would think that you would have some kind of check and balance that said, hey, we're going to update it. No, this update doesn't work. We can go back to the next, we can go one below, or, we can try it on a computer now. Right. You know what I mean? Something, some kind of safety measure. I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm not a Joe computer guy, like some programmer guy, but I don't think it would be that difficult to do.
Yeah, throw in a closed system that's like an air gap system or something, and just test it out and see if it kills the computer.
Or anything of that nature. I mean, you could do it on, it doesn't have to be that perfect. It just has to be something.
It could have been a virtualized system too, like OpenSUSE uses the OpenQA system. They test all that stuff. Not that it gets 100% of everything, but they get a lot. And so, it seems like there was a lack of QA on that for sure. And I think anytime you're pushing something that's that critical, you need to take an extra step to make sure that everything is properly.
Your factor of safety is 0.
It's like you're updating the kernel, and like you think you would be more careful.
You would think, what?
Maybe,
according to I saw a little thing there. Georgetown University did a little fact checking, well, not fact checking, but count, I should guess. They're estimating about 8.5 million devices were affected by Windows devices were affected by this CrowdStrike thing.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So, like actually, this is the first article here. So it says the CrowdStrike disruption direct losses to reach 5.4 billion for Fortune 500 study finds. So a report from Parametrics estimates that cyber insurance will only cover about 10-20% of losses, which it seems kind of piddly, really.
Yeah, considering how much some of these companies lost. I think it was like in the billions, some of them.
So I'll just read the little brief part of it. So, excluding Microsoft, at least 4.5 billion in direct financial losses was reported on Wednesday. Cyber insurance will only cover 10-20% of the losses based on large risk retentions and policy limits at many companies, according to Parametrics. CyberCube estimates that the cyber insurance market will face preliminary insured losses between 400 million and 1.5 billion, potentially the single worst loss in cyber insurance sector for over 20 years. But that's why you have insurance, so they shouldn't scream and cry about it too much. So Parametrics expects the healthcare sector to see the biggest impact among industries, with 1.94 billion in losses after three quarters. The Fortune 500 healthcare companies were impacted. Though banking was also hit hard, with an estimate of 1.15 billion in direct losses. Airlines are expected to have the highest per company costs. So
because they had to do things like putting people up in hotels and stuff too.
Right. So, Yeah, so healthcare 1.94 billion, and then banking 1.15 billion, airlines 860 million, but the estimated per company direct loss is higher. Software and IT related, it was at 560 million, and retail wholesale at 470 million. So
Yes, so this affected surgeries, this affected 911 calls, like you couldn't call 911 certain places because there was no system to actually take the calls and everything. So
Yep. It was definitely not a good few days there for technology. People that not required but needed I guess required technology. They couldn't do their jobs without it, like like
mm-hmm.
hospitals and things like that.
Yep.
Definitely was not a good thing to happen to those systems.
Nope. And some comments here from the YouTube chat stream. So Guru the Digital says, I read that the CrowdStrike, to get around the approval time, they embed a bytecode interpreter in their code, kind of a custom scripting engine in the kernel. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. The kernel basically brings in a data set and then acts upon that. So, yep, whoops. It sounds like Anna Rita's 29-year-old washing machine was affected by the CrowdStrike. No, I read that wrong. No, she's doing laundry. So,
she retrofitted it to be an IoT device.
right, running Windows 10
Yeah.
with CrowdStrike. Why would you do that, Anna? That's so weird.
Talk about a smart device.
So, yeah, so the system failure was a non-malicious, so far as we know, attack. That was attack, but consequence. And I think the outage was more apparent in airports. So as all 6 airlines, the Fortune 500, were impacted by in some capacity. And then that leads me to the next article, which I think is pretty funny. But there's a little snippet in here. It says, Southwest Airlines, however, said it was not directly impacted by the outage and had minimal disruptions, according to the spokesperson. The airline uses a variety of endpoint security protections, but will not disclose details. It has worked to upgrade its technology, the spokesperson said. And then there's another article that I want to get into here, which I think is funny. And then I'll jump back into the third article. But it says, let's see. So it says that Southwest Airlines saved from the global IT outage thanks to a 32-year-old Microsoft system. Then why does that not surprise me? So, yeah, so it's the
Windows 3.1 still going strong.
yeah, working. So yeah, while Windows 3.1 seems to be working fine for the airline, the carrier has come under fire for using such an archaic system in the past, noting that the carrier should look for more modern alternative. However, the airline will be pleased it has not made such a technological jump this week.
Yeah, they got their last laugh staying on that old tech.
Yeah, they sure did. So millions of travelers globally were grounded from their fault, and the Federal Aviation Administration has already assisted affected airlines. Fortunately, the FAA was also not affected. Microsoft, which used CrowdStrike for cybersecurity purposes, noted that the outage root cause has now been fixed. However, it could take days for users to get back full system functionality. The CEO of CrowdStrike released a statement on Twix, saying yesterday CrowdStrike released an update that began impacting IT systems globally. We were aware of this issue and are working closely with CrowdStrike and across the industry, well, this is from Microsoft, to provide customers technical guidance and support for safety, bringing their systems back online.
And one of those recommendations was turn it off and on 15 times, which apparently didn't work. Or so I've heard.
That seems like a really stupid way to fix it.
It just seems like it's like a
Busy work.
kind of like a dark art. Like, yeah, you just do it, turn it off and turn it on, and eventually it'll fix itself.
So Mike Chilson said there was a post from Southwest that was pulled late on X that basically said, "Now who's laughing at us using a Commodore 64?" Yeah, I saw that. Like it was a fake tweet, but yeah, like using a Commodore 64 for all their airline traffic. Yeah, that would have been funny if they actually would have just ran with that. 8-bit is the future. Well, at least the future was 8-bit. So it's worth identifying that while Microsoft frequently experiences outages due to system updates and bugs, it is uncommon for them to have such wide-scale ramifications. With millions of servers running on Windows, today's outage affected many international airlines, banks, retail stores, and conglomerates. Anyway, so
So,
that's pretty
so
wild.
do you think this is Microsoft's fault too, or it's not Microsoft's fault at all?
I don't think it's so. I think it's Microsoft's fault in as such that they allow for CrowdStrike to have this kind of a kernel driver, but they allow GPUs to have kernel drivers. So I understand you want to have that kind of efficiency. They do have an API that could be employed, that's been developed, that would allow such software to live in user space as to not bring the kernel space down, but that would have some kernel space controls. So that, but that was basically stopped by the European Union Parliament or whatever it is. So, so in a way, you could say big government is really at fault here for not understanding technology and making regulations concerning it. But I still want to blame Microsoft, just because.
Just cause, huh?
Just because. I mean, why are so many using CrowdStrike? I guess would be my next question. Why is it so popular? Why is that the why do so many
Uh,
large businesses use CrowdStrike versus some other?
I do know that my sister works for a town, and they did give CrowdStrike basically for free for some of the towns.
Okay.
And they asked her if she wanted to run it, and she says, "Well, you're not giving it to me for free. Why would I? Why would I take it? When you gave it to somebody else for free, why aren't you giving me for free? Go away." You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Which I don't blame her, right? But I know that somehow they had a very strong program to, because you get paid for updates, so you get paid for something. You know what I mean?
You can get antivirus now with through your ISP. I think through your bank too. Some banks offer you
Mm-hmm.
antivirus, I think.
Yeah. Maybe I don't know. I've seen it offered, but they didn't have it for OpenSUSE, so I didn't bother. So Eric says ultimately Microsoft is responsible. I'm gonna say it's probably more CrowdStrike is responsible. They're the one that pushed the code.
Yeah.
Without testing.
Um, yeah, without testing. I think they're more at fault, but I would say that maybe Microsoft should have fought more for their API. I would say that's probably why it's their fault, or maybe they shouldn't allow for CrowdStrike to have certified driver at the kernel level. That I would say that'd be where I would say it's their fault by maybe that method of deploying. But I don't know. It's such a that's a real tough that's a tough one just to point. I'm going to point it more at CrowdStrike than at Microsoft, but I'm gonna kind of lean toward Microsoft and lean toward the European Union.
Yeah, it's
Or I
definitely
think
more on the
Microsoft,
CrowdStrike side, but Microsoft does hold some of the blame, so to speak, but not
yeah,
the blame
The,
for
the,
how things are done, not the blame for what was done.
the system is designed by Microsoft, right? So they make a choice to be able to support all this old software and everything. And they've stayed with the same system from I don't know how long. And now you have like iOS and Mac OS that has like an immutable system, like Silverblue. They could do that
hmm
too, but obviously they choose not to switch to that. Um, so in some ways they do set like the ground rules, don't they, for the design of the system?
yeah, they have a microkernel architecture, so that would be the case. Maybe I don't know. Like in my mind, I'm thinking maybe if how in Linux I have kernel modules for outside like for other things, and those kernel modules can fail without taking the whole system down. Something along those lines, I suppose. I mean, it's probably the architecture could be improved, I think, without a doubt. But Microsoft did propose a solution which was not, which government got in the way of, essentially. So that would be more my. So they had another solution, but it was stopped at a litigation level. So that would be the other side of it too. So I don't know. It's a tough one. Microsoft is maintaining a lot of legacy stuff for reasons
Money, right? Because
Well,
companies don't want to switch over. They don't want to spend the money to upgrade their software or upgrade hardware. Like people are still running mainframes, right?
right, I
Ancient
mean, it's
decades
true.
old
Oh yeah.
mainframes.
I mean, come on, look at Southwest. I mean, there's an example right there.
But they're also running Microsoft.
But it's so old it doesn't break.
Right.
So do they still get updates from Microsoft? Does Microsoft still support that?
I doubt it.
I'm
I
sure
mean,
that
it is an enterprise level thing, so maybe.
Because
there's
I think the government was still getting support from Microsoft for Windows 95 or something like that, right? That came out recently.
so just a couple years ago, I still saw Windows XP machines in the art in when I was in the military. So for what it's worth.
Let's see.
So Run with the Dolphin says, so worse than a bad NVIDIA update. Yes, I will say it is.
It wasn't a blinking cursor. It was a blue screen.
Right. So yeah, Eric says Microsoft didn't vet it. Yeah, because the way CrowdStrike gets around Microsoft's the kernel module is vetted, but the updates are not because there would be not enough time to protect it 0 days or something like that. So, but I understand where you're coming from though, saying maybe Microsoft shouldn't allow CrowdStrike to implement those sort of updates like that. I think that could be. So Don Lackland said, no, Southwest is running 3.1 DOS in Windows 95. It's completely unsupported by Microsoft. So, yep. And then, so Mike Chilson says, what antivirus does anybody run on Linux, if any? I don't run any antivirus. I do updates.
Nope.
What? I know there's Microsoft Defender for Linux. I think you can get that. I think it's a
Linux,
kernel
I
module.
don't run.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, there's Clam what is it? Clam
Clam
K,
AV.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've run that in the past.
Didn't Kaspersky come out recently that they were adding support for Linux or something?
Somebody like that, yeah.
I think they might have. Yeah, I don't. I'm not so worried about viruses. More, I'm maybe more being a carrier. Like if I got a file that was a malware, I'm more concerned about being a carrier. But I just haven't done anything. Yeah, Clam AVs. I think the Fresh Clam is another one. I guess. Yeah, Colonel Daniel Yant. And then yeah, I don't know. I just don't. I'm really worried about that.
Yeah, pretty much the only computer I have anything running on is the Windows machine, which just runs just have Windows Defender.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Mac has Malwarebytes. So, well, the Windows machine has Malwarebytes too. And Linux, I don't have anything on any of my Linux machines as far as antivirus or malware.
So if Clam AV gets too stuffy, you get Fresh Clam instead.
Yes. So Donald McKenna says, the issue with legacy applies to Linux too. We have a ton of legacy software out there. Yeah, that's why I run Wayland. I got rid of that legacy software. Is there? So I wonder what legacy software.
Well, you still run X, right? Through the X Wayland.
So no, there is X Wayland, but that is new software. I think I'm sure there might be some legacy code in there. I don't know how much.
But it still has Xorg inside, right? Running.
I don't know if it does. But I do have Wayland to X11 video bridge, but I don't know how much of X is actually in that. No idea. I'm not so worried about old code. It's just poorly maintained code I'm worried about. I don't know. So, and Sean says people are still running Commodore 64s, not directed at anyone here, obviously. I am still running Commodore 64. In fact, there is an update coming for Commodore 64 OS that would allow internet access and be able to like do web browsing with it. So I'm really excited about this. It should be coming out pretty soon. Version 1.5, 1.7, I think.
When does antivirus support come?
What's that?
When does antivirus support come for
I don't know.
for Commodore 64? I mean, you're enabling internet access, right? So you would think the next step is antivirus support for Commodore 64?
I think you have to have vulnerable code. Is that better? Jabalin.
It,
I think
but all code is vulnerable, right? But, I mean, there's no such thing as like bulletproof code.
that's true. I think the issue there is how what is your attack surface? Like how much of the code that you have is, the more services you run, the larger your attack surface is. So if you have a smaller attack surface, what was that, your snack or the cat snack there, Jason?
Oh, that was cats. That's Temptations.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cats treated.
And Jabal requests, Jason, that you increase your volume.
Increase my volume?
Increase your volume of your microphone, yeah. I want to make sure Jabalin's happy. I can't have an unhappy Jabalin because I like his name.
Let's see.
So Mike Chilson says, I'm not worried so much about my Linux box. I'm sorry, I saw bot. Why did I say bot? But I move a lot of files back and forth between me and client systems. I worry more about passing a virus on than actually having it attack me. Yeah, being a carrier as opposed to being affected by it. So probably ClamAV may be your best choice. And Jabal is now smiling. He gave us a smile face. So there you go, Jason. It was directed toward you.
Well, hopefully mine's louder now.
Yeah, it looks good. I mean, based on the graph, it looks all right anyway.
Yep.
So, interesting stuff. Let's see, there's another article here. So here, this one will make everybody happy, I'm sure. And everyone will feel better after this. So it looks like CrowdStrike is offering a $10 apology gift card to say sorry for the outage.
And this is per company, not per affected person.
Not per computer, it's per company.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like Southwest Airlines,
But
not Southwest Airlines, bank.
It's
$1
not
gift card.
It's not just $10 though. It's not like a Visa gift card. It's a $10 Uber Eats gift card as an apology. So
wow, they really went on a limb there, didn't they?
Man, I know they really.
It's definitely a slap on the face, I would say.
And when TechCrunch checked the voucher, the Uber Eats page provided an error message that said that the gift card had been canceled by the issuing party and is no longer valid.
Man, I tell you, just can't win. So I guess.
Nope.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. Anyway, I think it's pretty funny. But I mean, I think maybe per person would have been better. Everyone was affected by it. I don't know how you would apply for such a thing. They'd probably bankrupt the company. I don't know. I think maybe at some point in time, there's somebody at the buck stops with the CEO ultimately, and so that's the person that should make things right. I think. And I do think there should probably be some sort of I think like Microsoft should probably push their API again.
So just for reference, back in let me see, 2024, the revenue was 3.28 billion.
Where'd that money go? Obviously not in QA.
I bet you the CEO has a nice yacht.
If maybe he should, use some of that to. He doesn't need a second solid gold Humvee, I think. So maybe you should go ahead and, do the right thing. But that's my opinion. So George Kurtz, Chief Security Officer Sean Henry are the cheapskates, I guess. So it says, all of CrowdStrike understands the gravity and impact of the situation, Kurtz said in a message published on the company's site. Nothing is more important to me than the trust and confidence that our customers and partners have into CrowdStrike. As we resolve this incident, you have my commitment to provide full transparency on how this occurred and steps we are taking to prevent anything like this from happening again. I think one good takeaway is maybe there shouldn't be one provider for so many things. There should probably be multiple providers, a little more competition. I think that would probably be a benefit. you know,
Well, they do
because
have competition. There's like 9 other companies that do it, but nobody that has, I guess, the reach that they do.
yeah, maybe insurance companies should diversify their risk by saying you need more, you know, less homogeneous environments. So, and Henry, who's Henry? Sean Henry said, I've been in my professional life for almost 40 years, and my North Star has always been to protect good people from bad things. The past 2 days have been the most challenging 40 hours for me for over 12 plus years. The confidence we built in drips over the years was lost in buckets within hours, and it was a gut punch. So,
The chief security officer.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they didn't their I do believe their stock plummeted so bad that they lost so much money.
Yeah. Whoops.
Yep. Big ol' whoops.
Huge whoopsie.
Excuse me.
So anyway, good luck on that $10 gift card. And then, and this is a fun article here. It says how a cheap barcode scanner helped fix CrowdStrike's Windows PC in a flash. So from the Register. So not long after Windows PCs and servers at the Australian limb of the Audit and Tax Advisory, Grant Thornton, started BSODing last Friday, senior system engineer Rob Woltz remembered a small but important fact. When PCs boot, they consider barcode scanners no differently to keyboards. That knowledge nugget became important to him, important as the firm tried to figure out how to respond to this mass CrowdStrike, the mess that CrowdStrike created, which at Grant Thornton, Australia, threw hundreds of PCs and no fewer than 100 servers into a doom loop that CrowdStrike's shoddy testing software made possible. All of Grant Thornton's machines were encrypted with Microsoft's BitLocker tool, which meant that recovery upon restart required CrowdStrike's multi-step fix, and entry of a 48-character BitLocker key. The firm prioritized recovery for its servers and tackled that task manually, but infrastructure manager Ben Watson and Woltz felt the sheer number of PCs at the firm meant an automated response would be required. That response could not, however, involve distributing BitLocker keys. Doing so was just too risky to contemplate. So was reading keys to workers over the phone or in person. It felt like a bad idea to read 40-character key to someone who's already stressed out, Woltz told the Register, which was when his memory about barcode scanners came into play. The firm had the BitLocker keys on all the PCs, so Woltz and colleagues wrote a script that turned them into barcodes that were displayed on the lockdown management server desktop. The script would be given to a hostname and generate the necessary barcodes and lapse password to restore the machine. Waltz went to an office supply store and acquired an off-the-shelf barcode scanner for about $36. So at the point of rebooting the PCs, asked for BitLocker keys pointing to the scanner at the barcode on the server screen, made the machines treat the input exactly as the keys being typed, which is a lot easier than typing out every time, and the server's desktop could be accessed by a laptop or for convenience. So then the team scaled the solution, which meant buying more scanners at more office supply stores around Australia. So I think that's pretty cool. But the key isn't still out there then. I mean, that is the key, right? Sort of. I don't know. I guess it's maybe a little harder to, I don't know. Who am I to say?
So I did like the sentence they put. They said, all PCs in the firm's Australian fleet were fixed by lunchtime, taking only 3 to 5 minutes for each machine.
Wow. So they have time to use that Uber Eats card.
They probably never got it.
And then they said, had we done this manually, fixing servers needed about 20 minutes per machine instead.
Well, I'm glad they got it fixed up pretty quick. Well, fantastic. So, hopefully this is behind us, and something like this doesn't happen again, I guess.
One can hope.
One can hope.
Hopefully they got a nice celebration yesterday for System Administrators Day.
Right.
They probably didn't. I
Probably
didn't
not
get
hidden.
Hopefully somebody got a pizza lunch or something.
Optimist I am, it's going to be the last time until the next time. So,
I think you nailed it right there. So who's installing CrowdStrike on the Linux systems? Anybody here?
Oh, pick me.
Okay. Tell us how it goes. I'm sure Eric is going to install CrowdStrike in his system. He just hasn't turned on his microphone yet. He's still working through his BSOD or black screen of death and Linux, I guess. I don't know.
so if it's installed in a virtual machine, does it really matter?
Depends on
I
how much
guess
you like
that-
that virtual machine.
Yeah.
You know, that's
If
a
it's
good.
if it's a fresh install of a virtual machine, probably not.
That is a good question.
Yeah, because you could have like a snapshot that you could roll back to, right? So,
I think Windows doesn't work like that, though.
yeah, but you could have Windows as a guest operating system in a virtual machine that is running some task that happens to have the software in question, CrowdStrike, installed on it. And if there was a prior rollback or snapshot of that machine, you could roll back to something that was working.
Right. Yeah. If that would be a thing.
But is it set up that way? Is the data separate? When was the last snapshot? How far are you gonna miss?
I guess,
if you,
yeah.
if you go back?
You're right. If you're
There's a lot of
taking,
variables to that.
if you're
Yeah.
taking snapshots, then yes, I would say you could roll back to it. Like if you got like if you're doing like incremental snapshots like every hour or every day or whatever.
Even every week, I mean, or month, or whatever the time frame is. If it's just an operating system snapshot and not a data snapshot, that would kind of work, right? So
I would think yes.
Hourly
So-
snapshots. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's
Guru
where
Digital
Guru
says-
Digital.
And they work. So
I just happen to have worked at companies that had deployments of various servers or various systems on virtual machines.
Mhm.
So that's why that came up.
yeah, I think it makes sense. So I think Eric said just how about no? I think that was to installing CrowdStrike on his Linux system. So I mean I understand why not. I think they did have an issue with Debian systems, I believe, a few months or a few years ago. I don't remember when, but I did remember reading that CrowdStrike had a
A few
bump
months
update.
back, I think.
few months back. Apparently that wasn't enough of a
Yeah.
wake-up call for their QA.
So can we get CrowdStrike as a Flatpak, Snap, App Image, something like that?
I think it's a kernel module. I don't know. I really don't know how it's deployed on a Linux system. I haven't even looked. Should have done that in preparation.
Just a little humor.
You say that, but I would guess that there's probably a snap of it.
Well, I'm going to find out now. Okay.
I'm not sure, but there may be an app image of it.
It's probably like a tar.gz file that you have to extract in the right spot.
Yeah.
Maybe it gets installed through a curl command and then piped through shell.
Yeah, according to TechSpot, so CrowdStrike also broke Debian and Rocky Linux earlier this year. But nobody noticed, apparently. Didn't make the news. So I tell you, it's big
I,
work.
I remember when people were saying that Linux people shouldn't celebrate too much because this could also happen to them. And I kept thinking, well, maybe it's not so much a problem about Windows or Linux. It's just a CrowdStrike problem.
Maybe.
Well, I think fundamentally it's a issue with how CrowdStrike was architected, and that it allowed a untested configuration to be pushed out, right? So there are multiple layers of things that went wrong, you know.
So Don Lakeland says, yeah, CrowdStrike said that Debian Stable was supported, but they weren't testing the software on stable. Maybe on not stable? I don't know. Which caused a kernel panic, but much easier for Nix admins to disable and recover. So that's probably why it didn't make the news so much.
I read that it was 2 employees basically that caused the whole thing. One that created the configuration itself, and then one that pushed it. So literally 2 people cost, what was it, $5 billion? That's pretty good.
They needed a third person to test it.
He was off that day.
Okay, Eric, neither one of those people were me, just for the record. Just so you know.
That's a hard one to live down.
It's like when you
Not
come to work
something
on
you want
Monday.
on your resume.
Yeah. I worked for CrowdStrike
I caused the big failure.
So
Yeah, I think
guess
I'd leave that one off my resume.
yeah. So I guess the next question is, what? Yeah, where are these people in the pay scale? Is what I wonder. And if they were high on the pay scale, then I can kind of like, all right, well, you obviously screwed up. But if they're low on the pay scale, then I'm thinking to myself, well, obviously their checks and their checks are not very good. Like their validation is way, it's terrible.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think ultimately it's a question of quality control, and none was given for that particular, or at least not enough quality control was given for that particular push.
Where's the
And-
CIO? Where's the standards and practices that it should be carried out? Don't they set the design for all those things?
Yeah, there should be SOPs in place that would prevent such things. I would think, or maybe they just wing it. They're a fly by the seat of their pants kind of organization. Go go go, push push push. I mean, there is a lot of that in the tech industry too.
Yeah.
Where there's pushing and pushing.
Checks are rolling in. We have to keep on pushing things out. Come on, more,
Right.
more.
In order to meet our quota for this quarter, we have to have so many somethings. So you better push it out.
We have to show that we're constantly updating the code.
It's also, I think, easy to become kind of blasé about, even though we're talking about it like it's such an important thing, like, oh, you'd want to, of course, have double, triple check, I think if you do this on a regular basis, it loses its sense of importance, where and especially if you're doing it at some overnight time or something, like you're not doing it during normal business hours and you're just trying to get something done and get it over with. Like, we had a lot of deployments that should have gone smoothly that didn't because somebody was just trying to get home or, get done. And ended up costing more time than saving more time. But, it's hard to have that argument with someone.
Right.
And people don't learn from their mistakes.
This is, yeah, but this is how many $billion company?
You know that doesn't matter. You know that at the end of the day, there's a small group of people doing whatever they're doing.
Then
sure.
what are the other people doing in the organization?
Being middle managers, leeching. I don't know.
Yeah, Guru the Digital says it best. Move fast and break things.
Yeah.
The market cap for CrowdStrike is 59 billion.
Okay, so they have a few dollars to play with. Maybe okay, let's say 25% of that now, right? So
they basically said, and I read this too, where they feel tremendous pressure from their customers to keep their prices as low as possible, and there's always market pressure to keep things as inexpensive as it can possibly be and as lean as it can be. I hate that term so much, and that's exactly what happens.
Lean is a dirty word now, amongst other words.
It is. It really is.
Okay. So
agile
we
is
can
also a
like
dirty word.
spin this in the other direction where Apple, to use another dirty word,
Hey now.
it Apple of today, not Apple of yesteryear.
Did you hear that,
You know,
Francois?
they are, they have taken steps to lock down things.
Mhm.
And that's actually, I used to be an Apple fanboy, and that's why I left. Is there was too much locking down for my taste. But
Yeah,
you know,
they're definitely a tight knit little Apple group there. Everything
yeah.
Apple.
But still, people buy Apple products and go, "Hey, this is the greatest ecosystem ever."
So
The truth is, it works really well.
I get that, but it's also very locked down. And it's like,
Mhm.
but I want to do this. Well,
Yeah, but
I'm sorry, Dave,
if
we can't do that.
yeah, if
You like to play a game, Dave?
Apple works great in their ecosystem, and if
Yeah.
you're within whatever it is that they've designated their systems can do, then you're going to have a fantastic time with Apple.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's the truth. And they make a good. I mean, now they control the entire stack from the hardware to the software. Making their own silicon. So, yeah, they have an incredible product, but
Yeah.
you have to
Yep.
use it the way
But-
they want you to use it.
yeah,
Yeah,
I argued this.
you have to buy into the ecosystem, and
It isn't even
if
the
you start-
ecosystem. It's you have to buy into just not having control of your device. Period. Even if I only had an iPhone,
That's true.
I
That's
wouldn't
true.
have to have the whole ecosystem. So
That's true.
Yeah. But like
Although-
me, I do have the whole
I
ecosystem.
I think most people who are Apple fanatics have the whole ecosystem. They don't just have an iPhone.
I'm not
you
a
know.
fanatic now.
I don't-
Come on now.
I don't see that's the thing. I don't know that there's a fanaticism with 99% of their customers.
Mhm.
I think it really comes down to, like, I went home and I haven't seen the bulk of my family in many years, and like literally everyone uses an iPhone. And if you were to ask them why, they would say because it's just easy. And that's the simple truth, is that it's consistent, it's easy. If you've used it, you know how to use it. It will probably never change dramatically. So
They still use the
That's,
same sound effect notifications for like the last 15 years.
yeah,
I'll hear
the same
I'll hear-
And there's no
ringtones.
bells and there's no like fancy like Androids, with the different there's they get the Samsung and whatever other brands there are, and they're each different based off of what the carrier is, and yeah, that gets confusing.
We'll see.
Leo really burst my bubble earlier today. I've come to really enjoy using Pixel devices, and he's like, they're probably not going to keep making them for much longer, right? I'm like, don't say that, man.
Well, I mean, the Pixel that's the Google one, right?
It's such a niche product,
Yeah.
though. I mean, they are such small market players compared to,
Samsung.
Samsung, Xiaomi, other providers, basically.
I
So
don't even know who makes Android phones anymore other than really Samsung, honestly.
I think Eric's Edge, he hit the nail on the head with this. He says, Apple is a gilded cage and it works. I think you're right. That's a perfect analogy.
people like simple. They don't like having a million choices. They like that it's easy to support, that it's easy to just do the one thing the way that it's intended to be done. And I can't necessarily argue against that, frankly. Like, the argument I was having with Leo was over immutable distros and how I've been trying them a lot lately, and I've been having problems because, just like Sean, I have the expectation that, I should be able to install a piece of software, especially one that I consider mission critical and like I need to have on my system. And Leo's like, no, just use it the way it is. I'm like, no, that's not how Linux works. And he's like, well, that's how immutable Linux works. It's just like, you either, and he said, like, you either accept it and you just use it, or you don't
Right.
use it. So,
I
which is
think
exactly
there's-
why I can't use an iPhone.
So, I think well, actually, Swift was going to say something, and I interrupted him, and I want to make sure he says, because he had something on his mind. I don't want it to go away.
So
Please.
I've been using exclusively Mac probably since April, ever since I moved out. So It's been an interesting experience using it as much as I have. And I also have an iPad, so that goes well. It's nice being able to use both devices. And I installed Homebrew. It's like one of
Yep.
the first things I do, just
Mhm.
like when I reinstalled Monorail on here, put Homebrew on there. And then there's a number of different programs I'm familiar with in the open source world that now I'm able
Yep.
to put on here, even if I'm not able to get them normally. And so it's making use of what's there. I don't exactly have the open playing field like I would with Linux. At least I don't know of it, but I'm able to do more than one would normally think of doing on here, just because of what's actually available. So that's kind of cool. It's not as locked down as I thought it was.
Leo's point was if you're willing to spend the money, you can do just about anything you want on a Mac, but it's
Yeah.
not built in. And there are excellent add-ons and extensions and ways to change things, but you have to be willing to spend the money on. And he brought up a really good point because before I switched to, I had a MacBook for a while. I had been using like FileZilla, like open source type tools and stuff like that. And so when I got to Mac, you can use FileZilla, but it's kind of ugly and it doesn't really fit well. He mentioned CyberDuck, which is another one that kind of works, but I used Forklift, which is $20. Oops, I had to pay money for it, but it was so well built and so well integrated, like into Finder and into the desktop and into everything that it was an absolute pleasure to use. And you know what? For $20, like whoop-de-doo. It's not that big of a deal. But the death by a thousand paper cuts is true that if you set up a Linux system or a Mac system and you pay $20 for every application you use or more, that all of a sudden you're spending hundreds of dollars. And if there's subscription services versus just a single payment, all of a sudden it gets even worse. So there's a sort of balance there where I don't mind paying for software, but at the same time, I do appreciate the availability of Linux and open source and all of that because, it just works for me. So
Yeah, like Swift was saying, a lot of the quite a few of the open source things that we do use, you can through Homebrew, which is basically it's a command line thing that you install so you can use command lines and stuff like that, and you can install stuff through a terminal. So you can get a lot of the
they don't
open
have a
source.
GUI for Homebrew.
They do, but it's you basically install it into the what's already installed on the Mac, third version of terminal. Then you add Homebrew, which extends um, what your availability of what software you can actually install. Um, and it's great. It's you can get a lot of the open source stuff. Install it like you do on a Linux machine and just get it to go. I mean, my Mac, I don't use a whole lot of um, you know any paid apps or anything like that because my Mac I just play around with it and basically have it on to watch, have an extra computer and whatnot. That's not my main system. So and that I
Jason,
mean
which Mac do you have?
I have a M1 Mac Mini.
Oh,
It was actually my brother's. He bought it because he wanted to try out Mac OS. At the time, I was using this Mac back here, which is a classic Mac Pro, but I was running OpenCore on it because this is a 2009. Um, and then I kept having issues with OpenCore, and I went up to his room one day, and he had his Mac Mini sitting there, not plugged in, just sitting on his desk. And I'm like, "You're not using?" He goes, "No, I don't like it." And he's like, "Here you go." So he handed it to me, and I brought it down, set it up, got it working. But this machine now is running Linux Mint instead of OpenCore. Um, and the funny thing is, he now has two Macs. They're older versions. He has a 2014 Mac Mini, and then he has the trash can Macs. I don't know what year it is, 2018 or whatever heck the trash cans are. So he's got those. So he can run. He just tinkers with them. He doesn't really use them much. He's a Windows guy.
yeah.
He does have Linux machines as well. He does have a Mint machine and a MX machine, I believe.
Mine is a 2015 MacBook Pro.
Mm.
And this thing is absolutely nice. I got this. This was a gift, so I didn't pay for this. And look at you, we're twins.
This is a 2013, but
That's
it's
enough.
I got this from somebody in the Mac community. I bought it off him for a couple $100. and it's a beautiful machine. This is running because it's a 2013, so it doesn't you have to run open core to keep updated.
Right.
So this is running Mint as well.
Okay. Monterey is on mine. And at some point, I'm going to have another drive that I'll probably use Linux on or whatever, however I end up doing it. But definitely at some point, I'll get a newer Mac, maybe a mini, something with the M1 series. I'll definitely want to do that one day.
The M1 Mac Mini, I don't know what it is now, but the only thing that we changed, because you can get external storage and stuff, so the only thing we changed was the memory and upgraded from 8 to 16. It was like $1,000 for the machine. So it wasn't horrible as far as Macs go. But anyway, I think we're getting a little off topic from what we're discussing.
Well, Linux Mint. So let me ask. Oh, I can switch it back to Linux. So how is Linux Mint running on that Mac Pro?
The MacBook Pro or the Mac Pro back there?
The Mac Pro.
The Mac Pro. Oh, it's runs great. I had no issues when I was installing it on that machine. I had 0 issues. The only thing that doesn't work the best is the older version. It's the older Bluetooth. Doesn't work as well as you would hope. Little disconnects and stuff like that. But I run everything off of just a dongle type keyboard, wireless keyboards instead of Bluetooth anyway. But it runs great. It detected both processors because that's a dual CPU Xeon ISA, the Xeon Intel Xeons. So
Cause see, I have a Mac. I can see the top of it, and I have one of those. And one of my buddies gave it to me. It's the original Mac Pro, and it died years ago. But I just love the case so much. I love the concept of the multiple trays. Now, question: are you able to use the multiple? Have you ever thought of multi-booting with the multiple trays, or does that even work in Linux Mint?
What do you mean by multiple trays? You talking about the different hard drive bays?
Yeah.
Oh, this is basically set up as all the bays are populated with one is the SSD that's running that has Mint on it, and then the rest are I think 4 terabyte drives. So they're just they're newer Seagate SAS drives. So this is my Linux, basically what I back up all my other Linux machines to and stuff like that. So I have it separate from like my main Linux machine, which is right here,
right?
Which is actually another Mac, which is a 27-inch iMac.
Okay.
And I run MX Linux on that.
That's a nice, yeah.
And the Mac, this Mac here, the iMac, I got my brother-in-law was given it to him by his boss, and then he was just didn't have any use for it because it's it's a 2000, I want to say it's a 2011 if I remember right, and it was I think it was like the last one that still had the magnetic screen, so you can actually replace it, remove the screen and work in there without having to redo the GUI.
It's probably too expensive for him.
Yeah, so I got lucky on that aspect, and I just threw an SSD in it, and then installed MX Linux, and it runs like a champ. And the screen is beautiful, because it's one thing that Apple does good. It does really, really well with their screen, like their laptops, the iPads, and their external, their regular external monitors. What do they call? I can't remember what their
Retina displays. I think it's called Retina.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's because this is a like I said, it's a 27-inch, and it's just beautiful. The screen, like I put like a baseball game on there, and then look at my screen here, and then the difference. It's just you can see it.
Cause see what I was using
really good.
Before this machine, I was using a T420, so you can imagine the screen is 1600 by 900, and then this MacBook Pro is like way above that. So it's in the screen departments, they got it for sure.
And they've been they were like the first to do high end consistently, and also like well done, and not like, it's funny because like the current laptops you get now are like the same price as a MacBook, and the quality of the screen is just sad most of the time.
Exactly, yeah. And
Michael-
and the build is better too, in my opinion, on Apple laptops. The actual chassis and all that stuff, the build is just
I'd say the only one that competes is like right now really is kind of like the frameworks. Like they're
Mhm.
very nice, very nicely built. And even with the modularity aspects, they're still really nicely built.
I don't
There
know
are a
anybody
few other
around here
ones
that
from
uses them.
companies, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah. My first experience with a framework was actually Nate's.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, he brought it to
yeah.
Ubuntu Summit last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
So I had to
Michael,
fly
welcome.
across the world to try a framework.
Yeah, Michael, welcome
you
to
get one
the Apple Saloon.
Oh, nice.
Hey, Michael,
So,
did you give
that's
did you
good.
give Nate's
Here's my iPhone.
framework back?
What was that? Tom?
Do what?
Did you give Nate's framework back, or is he still waiting?
it's in that pink machine beside him.
If he wasn't sitting right next to me, who knows what had happened? But he was there at the time.
So this is actually a framework here, believe it or not.
Mhm.
The guts of this is a framework.
That's a framework motherboard inside of it.
Yes, and
Okay,
battery.
okay.
So it's actually portable like a framework, except it only gets about 4 hours because
I felt like you were trying to like mess with my brain.
Well,
I was
that's
like, oh, I know what you mean. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Good
And
times.
Francois did make a statement in there. Francois is one of the guys I know from the Retro Mac community. He's like, well, you could donate to the Floss devs to help improve apps, make bug reports, but yeah, it's more work than just buying ready-made things. So yes, I definitely agree with the giving back to the open source community.
Sort of. Like you could just not do that, you know? Yeah, if you
Most
want to
people-
give back to the community, it's a lot harder than to not care about the company you bought the thing from. You could also just not contribute back to the community. It's not like you have to. It's nice that you if you do it, but it's not a requirement, you know?
Like I made occasional sometimes make a donation to like the Mint group, the Mint, Linux Mint, because it's one of my favorite distros.
It's aight.
I mean, I'm running it on 2 machines.
See, I'm
Actually, it's
loyal
much
to
better
them
now.
because when I was started on IRC and I went to that channel and Spot Chat, they were very helpful with me getting set up, patiently walking me through, and I just really fell in love with the community that I was exposed to anyway. And over the years, I just liked using it so much. And so that's why to this day, I've been using it since 2012. And that's why I'll always keep it on at least one of my machines. Period. Just,
Well, nice.
just because.
So, frankly, Linux
I was actually
communities are
just
pretty
joking
rad.
a little bit.
Oh, you're fine.
Do what, Nate?
So Linux communities are pretty rad as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
That's true.
yeah, I do.
Some
I
of
do
them
like
can be a bit not, but most of them are great.
Some of
Yes,
you
there are
no.
some that are not, but I just choose not to think about those.
I agree. Yeah,
You see-
let's pretend they don't exist.
You see, if I'm going to live in a world of delusions, I may as well make them, delusions I enjoy.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. By the way, Swift, you can do multi-booting stuff with there's this. I made a video years ago on my channel. I should probably update it, but then I have to take it out of my machine. I don't want to. It's called a Flexi Dock, and the weird thing about it is that it's a company called Icy Dock. They make a Flexi Dock. I have it, and here's the problem. There's like 7 different Flexi Docks, and they have this like ridiculous, long-winded name with some letters and numbers that mean nothing, and I don't remember what it's called. But the video has a link directly to it on Amazon, so if you want to go to it, I'll link you to the video if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Didn't Rocco have a lot
Maybe
of problems with his IT dock?
I mean, he said he had problems. I also talked to a few people who got it because of my video, and they said that they didn't, and a couple said they did. So I think it's just like there might be a problem, but you could always send it back and get like a replacement if there is an issue. And he said the issue was that it was too tight on the drive when you ejected it. And it also should be noted, I don't think I said it in the video. No, I think I did. I don't know. I said like one of the main downsides is that it takes a lot of force, not like an inhuman amount of force, but a lot of force to eject the drive from the bay, more so than you would expect. So that might be one of the issues, that he didn't put enough force or something. But it probably was just like it needed to be replaced or something. I would bet it was probably like, and he rolled the dice and got the snake eyes or something.
Yeah.
The thing is, like,
we had a
it doesn't matter what you do. Eventually, something's gonna slip past, the goalie, and you're gonna get something that's kind of maybe not quite a turd, but just it was in spec, but maybe the spec is not quite 100% right, and maybe it's one of those things where the dock location is a little bit small, and the drive that he got is a little bit on the large side. So like the combination of those two things,
it could be. Yeah.
Where they're at the edge of their specifications, cause something like that to happen. These things just happen.
Also, it also is made for 2.5 drives, but I don't know what I didn't even think about asking him what drive he used or anything like that. But I only used SSDs, which are much smaller than 2.5 hard drives. So it could have been just a hard drive issue. I don't know, but I exclusively use SSDs because why go back in time?
Yeah, the only time that we had an icy dock with that we were trying to use for
storage. Storage is fine with hard drive. Just saying.
Yeah, we had an icy dock. We put the drive in there. It was like one that fit in the computer, so you can hot swap and stuff like that. And my brother it went through 3 like 8 terabyte drives, because every time he put one in there, it just killed the drive. So that was our only experience with icy dock. So he thought it was a drive, so he tried another one, fried it, and then took out the icy dock and said, "Yeah, I don't know where he put it or threw it away, what he did, but it was like he went through quite a bit of drives. So he ended up getting a bad icy dock, I do believe.
I mean, there is the problematic aspect of technology's technology. There's going to be a dud somewhere, right? But it's interesting because if you get a one that does not have those issues. And also, it depends on what you're using it for, because the whole reason I got this particular dock was because it has power buttons for each bay. Ooh. And that's the only reason I got it. So you don't actually have to take anything out. You just hit the power button, and then you will have to reboot the machine in order to activate an OS. But you could have 4 different operating system drives in there, and you just pick whichever one you want at the time. That's what's awesome.
That's exactly what I want to do.
When I've used this if you look at the video, I use that since I got the video. I made the video, so many years, and it's been awesome. I'm a big fan. I do have 2 drives dedicated to actual storage, one for gaming, one for work files, but then I also have 2 OS drives, and that is fantastic to swap back and forth, which also gave me the opportunity to play with Mint this week without messing with other stuff. So, getting access. I mean, I did wipe my laptop because I don't have a replaceable drive, so my laptop suffered there. But you were talking about how Mint is good. I was being joking, because for those who know my previous history with Mint, I had some complaints, and this week I tried it, and while I have a couple of issues that are nitpicky, and there's only one that's actually problematic, but it also wouldn't be hit by most people. When you have 3 monitors, there's going to be some wonkiness depending on the setup, especially if you have a really weird setup like I do. I have 2 4K monitors and 1 800 by 600 tiny 7-inch monitor that's connected. So surprisingly, it does work. It just has a little bit of quirkiness to it. And there's a few little things here and there, but it's actually very good. And within the first, 30 minutes of me using it, I was like, wow, this is good now.
So Michael, how much space does Rocket League take up? I didn't think it was that big of a game.
30 gigs. You're making a joke that's the only game I have installed. I get what you're saying. And first of all, it actually isn't. It's one of 2, because a friend gave me a game and I decided to play it, and I forgot to uninstall it when it wasn't Rocket League. So it's still there. But otherwise, yeah, it's just Rocket League.
Okay.
Which is good.
Okay. So you're on to your game hoarding journey right there.
No, I have hundreds of games. I just play one.
So I will say
I just
Plasma handles multiple screens very well. So like right now, this is the setup I don't know if you can see it very well, Michael. But
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah, that's awesome.
good Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Well,
you don't have, unfortunately, you don't have enough monitors. You only have 7, and those 2 empty spaces feel like they're like kind of jealous of the other parts. So you need another 2 up here to make the 9.
I've got one
I'll
behind
get
him.
there. I'll get there eventually. The problem is, I find if I go any
Okay.
more, so the center one is actually it's one screen. It's not actually 2 separate ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's this flip go from JSOX. I blame Matt. Anyway, the
Yeah, as you should.
yeah. So that actually acts as one screen, which is really cool because of the way the tiling works in Plasma. You can to hold meta and then hit the arrow keys. You can throw stuff around. It's really really very nice. So anyway, so I have like right now I have OBS at the very top, and then I have my news stuff right here, and then Zoom here, and then just ancillary things on the side. But anyway, the problem is, anything more than 7 of these displays here, there's technically 6. So if I add a 7th display, things start to get a little bit unstable. Don't know why, but apparently it gets a little bit like when the screens come
I
up.
mean, there's a lot of monitors.
Plasma has a hard. I don't know if it's Plasma or whatever the systems are that actually say, oh, here's a screen, and starts to parse that information. It kind of has a little bit of a it doesn't hang up. It's
You
like it becomes
probably need a
grumpy.
dedicated video card. It's probably too much for integrated.
Well, only 4 on the integrated. 2 of them are Display Link. Display Link. So, anyway, so that's good times.
Yeah, I have
So-
I have 7 monitors in my room, but they're all on different systems.
So, but I wanted we were talking about Linux Mint so much. I did want to at least get to this story. It's we're quickly running out of time. But Linux Mint 22 or Wilma. Was there a Fred before? What are they named after? What's their naming scheme? Do we know?
They're all
Women's names.
female women names, but there's no actual system. And I 100% wanted to make a joke at some point to just make a video, even if it's on Twill or something, where when I say Wilma, I just play the clip of Fred screaming in the
Wilma.
outro.
Yeah, it's not too late. There's still time.
We'll see.
It's women's names and they go alphabetically. So next
Oh.
would be X. Yeah.
Xena, do
the
it.
warrior princess.
You better
I
do
see a
it.
copyright strike coming. I'll tell you.
If you don't do it, I am uninstalling immediately.
I agree.
Not that you care at all, but just
So it
Not
was
that you
released.
care.
It's powered by the Linux
Yep.
kernel 6.8, and it's based on Ubuntu 24.04 LTS. And Wilma's here is one of the best desktop distros ever, I guess. It's known for its user-friendly interface and stability, like Linux Mint is, and it's unveiled its latest version, Linux Mint 22. The release is a long-term support edition, ensuring updates and security patches until 2029. I don't even want to think about 2029 because 2030 means it's just not. It just really makes me uncomfortable if I think about 2030. So now, without further ado,
Agreed.
let's review all the key improvements and the new features that make Wilma a notable upgrade for all Mint users. Apparently, just Mint users. So, Cinnamon Desktop 6.2 introduces a layout editor for organizing Nemo actions, enhanced printer notification management, experimental Wayland support. So, yay, we're getting to the Wayland game here. Key bindings for spices. What's that? Anybody know?
spices are the extension system
Oh.
or applets slash stuff.
Oh, okay. Probably should have said that for the uninitiated in the Linux Mint world, and more. So additional improvements across various apps, which include so Michael's very excited about this, the new GIMP file thumbnailer. I'm sure you're excited about GIMP. Yep. Better note taking capabilities.
I somehow didn't even read that part. I didn't even know it was there.
Better note taking
Michael,
capabilities than sticky.
That doc,
What's that?
did you have the link for that doc before I forget, Michael?
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
So better note taking capabilities with sticky, enhanced text duplication in Z, confirmation dialog in TimeShift, smarter web applications in Firefox. So there's support for new technologies. So we got the new kernel, which means they switched to Pipewire. And other technological advancements include JXL support in Pix, a new thumbnailer and migration for libsoup 2 and libsoup 3. But that's not all. So we got a new.
I like libsoup.
So I'm still a fan of like tomato soup
Chicken
with
noodle.
grilled cheese. Like if you have grilled cheese and tomato
That
soup.
is that. Yeah, I was gonna say chicken noodle lib soup, but you're right. Tomato soup, tomato lib soup, and grilled cheese is better.
There's this Martha Stewart whole chicken soup that I like to make in a crock pot from time to time. It's like you basically throw the whole chicken in a crock pot, some vegetables in there, and so it's like keto friendly and super delicious.
I love the Linux Mint to food. You gotta love it.
I can't help it. Well, they started with the spices business. They started.
I was like,
it, so.
squirrel.
Yeah, it's true. It is named cinnamon, you know.
And they talk about soup. So
And
they also
their
have
display manager is called another window manager is called Muffin.
see, so you just can't get away from it.
You can.
So the themes have been updated to support GTK4 and improvements in high DPI support, and have made throughout the system. So they've revamped the system software manager. They've done some more with system security, and they've improved their language support, and supporting some popular features. So despite base package updates support for a wide of these features, it's a priority for Linux Mint 22. The good news is that Thunderbird remains available as a native dev package despite the Ubuntu's move to Snap. Moreover, the XApp project introduced GNOME Online Account, GTK, reinstating online account support for Cinnamon, Budgie, Unity, Mate, and XFCE desktop environments. Some GNOME applications reverted GTK3 to maintain system theme support. So, and then of course they have the other Mate and XFCE editions you can check out, but they have nothing with Plasma, so I tap out at that point.
So one of the big changes is that they're disabling by default all Flatpaks that are unverified. You can still go into the settings and enable them, but by default they are disabled. They are not verified Flatpaks.
That is true. Which I understand the perspective,
I don't know how
but
I feel
also, like, I get it, but I don't like it. You know, not because it's because they disable them entirely, and you can't find it. So if you're looking for Google Chrome in the Flatpak, which exists, or if you're looking for Vivaldi, which exists in FlatHub, but it's unverified, you will not get anything. It will just look like it doesn't exist in the store. And I think that that's the mistake, is just showing it and like graying it out so you can't actually click it or something with the names like, oh, this is unverified. Are you sure? Click these settings to go here and activate it if you want.
Right.
But it's by default, like, just doesn't show you, and it makes people think that. I think it would be like the reason I think it's bad. In most cases, most distros, I don't think it would matter. In the case of Linux Mint, it is a very commonly used distro suggestion for beginners, and therefore people in beginners are typically not going to know to even go to the FlatHub. They're just going to go to the store and look, and then go like, "Oh, y'all don't even have Google Chrome? Wow!" You know, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's all.
I understand it for like the tinfoil hat reasons. But I think I agree with Michael. They should just say, hey, it's not verified, and go from there. Because there's a lot of applications that are not verified, but it's, I mean, you can like
also
do some digging. Yep.
I learned that verified does not mean what I thought it meant. Like, just like a couple days ago, I learned that, you know, like a lot of people think verified means that it is officially maintained by the developers. That's not what it means. It means that, and also someone in the community is maintaining it, but the official developers sanction it and approve of it, and therefore somehow it's verified that way. And I found that out because I use this application called Obsidian, which is awesome. It's a fantastic notes app. But the FlatHub says verified. And then I went to their website and it said the Flatpak unofficial. Like, what? And then turns out, yeah, you don't have, it doesn't make it official. It just means, I don't know, honestly. It could be official, or it could be they officially recognize it as a Flatpak, and I'd be like, yeah, I can recognize that's a Flatpak. Yep. Does that count? I don't know.
So
Yeah,
also, if you think about it, if you have like a software like VLC and it's verified, like this is coming from VLC, a long established project. But what if it's a project that's been available for like 2 months, a month? They can be verified, and you don't know if this is
Yeah.
trustworthy or not, a developer. Now there's
That's
supposed to be checks, I think, for everything in Flatpak now. They're checking the updates, I think. I don't know how thorough that
Yeah,
is, but
they've changed the way they do the getting into the store, the hub or whatever. But I don't know if like your point about the whole verified could be verified, but also who knows, it could also be a bad thing. Or what if it's like an XZ problem where it's verified and then someone takes it over and then it's still verified, but now is evil, like who knows? Like there could be all sorts of stuff. So verified is an interesting approach to this problem, but it's just not the best way to describe it. Like it's not a great, like I don't know what would be the better way to do it, but I don't think
I think definitely having a conversation about that is probably healthy, because we have, I think we all have to figure this thing out. It's kind of like it's an ever changing software landscape, and I think because we think we have a solution, and then it's not.
Yeah,
seems to happen.
It really
it's
comes down
interesting
to
because
community trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true for all applications, I guess. But and also it's funny because it really, with like the open source community, you're not just trusting, the application you're using. You're also trusting all the libraries and whatever it's using and frameworks and stuff. So there's a lot.
It's getting more and more complicated.
You're doing that on every Node application, every Python application, so on and so forth.
The more applications you install, the more likely that's a problem. But most of the time people are going to be using stuff that they've heard of, and it's probably fine. Probably. And what heard of, like mainstream stuff, like a particular browser or Thunderbird or, whatever.
So if you trust Thunderbird, do you trust all of the extensions that come with it, or that you can install?
No.
Yeah. But
a new user? That's different. I would say that I would trust the frameworks and libraries that Thunderbird's using, because they're theoretically going through it and making sure what they're using is whatever. But like extensions and add-ons should not be trusted by anyone ever, unless you trust that particular developer of that add-on,
Okay, so going back to the concept of a new user, who explains that to them?
Google.
Who explains that to them on Windows? It's the same thing. There doesn't like you.
Well,
you hope.
in Windows, okay, let's go Windows or Apple or whatever, and there's like an official app store, right? So.
No. The Windows Store is trash. The App Store on Apple is trash. And I don't mean it in the sense of like, oh, I'm a Linux guy and therefore these are trash. I mean, they're just bad and no one uses them. The Windows Store is a joke. The Apple App Store is so unused. I think I installed one thing in it ever, and I've been testing Apple like a MacBook for like, I don't know, like a year and a half now, just out of curiosity of like, am I burying my head in the sand? Does Mac have something that is good? And they do have some things that are like, we should consider that as a good policy and look at it and think about it. But the App Store they have is not one of those things. It is terrible.
So just in the chat here, Rudy's Retro Intel, he said CrowdStrike was a trusted app. So.
Well, yes, but also that's a different situation, because that's not maliciousness, that's incompetence.
Is there a difference?
Okay, so CrowdStrike was not a trusted app; it was a trusted kernel module. Let's get it right.
So this is interesting. We covered this in DL, and we're going to be. Obviously, everyone's covered this, but we covered it in DL. And in my research, I found something that was super interesting and related to this. Microsoft did not give CrowdStrike the option to have it for some special whatever. The EU government literally forced Microsoft to make them have it open. They have to allow security tools to have that low level thing, and because they have like Bitdefender and stuff. So if they have their own, they have to open their entire system to other companies to be able to do the same thing and then compete with them, which then results in these people who don't know how to do that breaking the planet.
Yeah, and there was also
Microsoft
had a proposal for that API, so they could actually allow for such accesses, but through a safer API transport. But that was also disallowed by the EU. According to, have you ever watched Dave's Garage, retired Microsoft engineer? He covered that pretty nicely.
Oh yeah.
Good job, EU.
You know
I mean,
what?
sometimes I would say that, the EU has done some cool stuff. GDPR, not great, but at least it exists. This one is, what's the word? Stupid.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem is you have people making decisions that don't really know technology. Is essentially
Oh,
what's going
yeah,
on.
100%.
And they're probably, a lot of them are probably first order thinkers, not second, third order effect thinkers. And so they don't think beyond the initial, which is also pretty common.
That's got to be it.
Yeah. So, but anyway. And, I mean, humans are imperfect, and humans together make imperfect organizations and imperfect systems, which make imperfect decisions. So, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
What can you do?
No. Really?
Yes.
Pepcat.
It depends if I'm involved or not.
This is true.
Hey, Michael, that was a great thumbnail right there.
I have to go back and make that the thumbnail of Linux Saloon. All right. Well, it is that time. It is 21:55 by my clock, and so some quick housekeeping. So next week, we're going to have a distro exploration. What do people think since this came out? It's in the news. Linux Mint 22. Is there any opposition toward that? Should we try something else? No, as in no opposition, or no, as in I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Well,
Jinder.
I'm
I
already running Mint. That works for me.
I think it makes sense to try it because it's one of the most popular distros, and people are going to be wanting, to see what people's opinions of it and stuff like that is. So, yeah, might as well.
All right. Linux Mint 22 it is.
Go for it.
I mean, I think I like to check it out. Unless what?
I mean, unless there's other things that y'all want to try. Because if y'all find it boring or something, then, because Linux Mint, in my opinion, is like, there's nothing in it that is like super interesting, like super different. Because they changed the core, they made it faster, more performant, but also at the same time, that's good too. Like stability of expectations and stuff. So there's you could argue either way.
I'd like to test the Wayland aspect of it, see how that's working. I'd like to see some of the new features, check them out, and
What would you say, Michael, if a Linux Mint was to bring back the plasma flavor? Oh yeah,
They'd probably have me forever.
They'd have you forever.
I'm just kidding. I was kidding. I don't know. But
was there a plasma flavor of Linux Mint?
Yeah,
there
long
was.
time ago.
It's been a while. Okay.
Yeah, they got rid of it like 6 years ago, I think. But the thing is, the KD Plasma is my favorite desktop, but I don't have to have it in order to enjoy a distro. So I think Cinnamon is actually a really good desktop too. There are some things that I tried to do certain things that are in Plasma that I couldn't do in Cinnamon, and that was a little disappointing. But that's also not disappointing to the desktop experience because, trying to compete with Plasma on the side of powerfulness is not easy to do.
Yeah, and then the other thing too is, Plasma is so nicely tunable, and I can't hold it against another desktop if I can't tune it the same way Plasma is. So there's that too. So yeah, I just had my son come in here a little bit ago, and he's testing out other distros. He says, he told me, I want to share this with everybody here since this is like a trust tree here, but he said to me, he goes, he likes Plasma, but he's not really married to, he doesn't use that term, but basically, he doesn't have to use OpenSUSE. He wants to try other distributions, but they got to be Plasma. So he just came here to tell me that he didn't like Kubuntu, and he gave me a bunch of reasons why. And then I was going back, and then anyway, so I gave him Fedora. I think
That's
Fedora's
funny.
great. And
Fedora is
anyway.
great, except for, okay, depending on the hardware. So, it's funny, if we had, I don't think we have time, but if we had time, there's an interesting debate or topic that I want to talk about at some point. KDE Plasma, what's the best distro to suggest to someone, whether they're beginner to Linux or beginner in general? Because Fedora used to be the one I'd be like, it's Fedora. Because KDE Plasma on Kubuntu is still in Plasma 5, which I understand. It's an LTS. I get why they did it. But at the same time, I want my new and shiny. But Fedora has removed X server, and it's just Wayland. So if your hardware and all the apps you use and everything is perfect on Wayland, then great. But is that most people? I mean, I don't know what the suggestion is anymore. I don't know if there is one anymore.
Well, I mean, I'm going to say OpenSUSE, but for as long as OpenSUSE lasts, I don't know.
I understand why you would say open source.
Yeah.
But I would say that it would be if their default experience was, nice. Yeah,
It's
I got
better.
one. Actually, I don't have that. That's cool. That's like a 3D thing, but I have like one.
It's a Lego. It's like a Lego, thing.
Oh.
The tail. Oh yeah. It's not real Lego.
Is it magnetic?
No, it's like they're like little building bricks,
Nice. Okay, now I want one of those.
Okay, so Nate, what is the next default color for what will be OpenSUSE rebranded? Because it can't be green.
It better be green.
So
That's
it's
why I
a
like-
different.
Oh.
Technically, it's a different color green anyway. So it doesn't actually conflict necessarily, but it's very interesting. I'm making a video on this topic of them rebranding. For those who don't know, I am a professional marketer, and this is kind of in my wheelhouse. But they are doing something that's necessary and not great, and I get it, but you got to do it right. So I'm making a video like explaining how to do it right, and the hardest part about it is that the only way to do it right is to like completely like nuke and pave, basically, because they have
Okay,
the logos they did last time. Like they did this whole what was that logo contest they did for the new OpenSUSE logo. They also did a contest for various different projects, but some projects were off limits and didn't participate because they didn't have to participate. And like because of that, there's no cohesiveness,
So-
and also people didn't know that this was even happening for like the first half.
So we're over time, but I'm just gonna say one thing. Like, I don't think it's necessary. I don't know what's going on with like SUSE and OpenSUSE right now. Like I read stuff like I don't know what's really going on. I know what their people are saying, and to me it's like the whole point. If you're a corporation, you're basically soulless if you don't, and you're in the open source world. You're kind of soulless if you don't have a project that you're sponsoring. And I think
I agree with that, but they're not talking about removing the sponsoring part. They're just talking about rebranding the term. But I think we should talk about this after we end the show. That way, people can be jealous and try to join next time.
right, that'd be a good idea. So anyway, next week Linux Mint 22. Check it out, download it, have some fun, because that's what's fun. Open source tools. Sona's last call, and
Also, Be
Yeah,
sure
what-
to try the web apps. Web apps for Linux Mint, very cool. Try them.
that's good. Actually, if there's things we should test, we can probably put that out, like specific things to.
Yep, the web
To
apps
do.
web app manager is really cool because you can build your own fake desktop apps, but you do it through web apps. And they actually updated it because the previous one it was a cool
Peppermint.
idea, but I
Like-
did not. Kinda, yeah.
Yep.
Except they had also GNOME Web can do them too, but they all suffered from this one problem that was super irritating. The browser toolbar was there at all times, even though it was worthless. And now in the latest version of Mint 22, they have fixed it. So by default, it's gone. So it's just the web app itself. And
cool.
That is the much better approach. And I tried to convince the GNOME web people or Epiphany developers like years ago, and it didn't happen. So I'm happy to see that one.
What can you do? Well, so Michael, you are part of a couple of podcasts.
Everything.
What
Yes.
are those podcasts? For those that don't know, what is this? What is this podcast?
If you don't know, the network that this show is on, that's interesting. But if you don't know, I am one of the founders of Tux Digital, and I make the show This Week in Linux and Destination Linux. They are both fantastic podcasts that I am in no way biased for at all. And actually, the latest version that's coming out Monday was such a fun thing to record. I haven't edited it yet, but I expect to be laughing the entire time because it was just a fun thing. Because we actually started off with like, here's all the things we're going to talk about. We even introduce it and say, that Firefox thing that's the ad blah blah. We're going to be covering all these sorts of things, and then we couldn't because we got so carried away with like two of the topics that we already got like over an hour before we even got anywhere close to those things. So it was very fun. So it's destinationlinux.net and tuxdigital.com and thisweekinlinux.com.
All good shows. They're great. Now, you have audio and video podcasts, but I tend to do the audio because I think it's not a good idea to watch the video podcast while I'm driving. I understand that's kind of dangerous, so I don't do
Probably
that.
true.
Yeah. So
I agree with that assessment.
yeah. Sometimes I'd be lying if I said sometimes I don't. Anyway, so yeah, check that out when it comes up. So, and then Steve wasn't on the show, but he was in the chat. But Steve's very own. He does a live morning 8:30 a.m. Central show, so check that out. Give him a hard time. He has the least punchable face on all of the internet. So
that's an interesting. I've never heard someone talk about not punchable.
Yeah.
I've heard many people talk about being punchable.
Yeah, but he's the least.
But
punchable.
I agree completely.
He looks like just like a sweet man. Then Eric, you have
awesome.
you have a podcast that you're a part of. How's that going? No, I can't hear you. Maybe it's me. It's not.
He's not muted on Zoom. It's system or hardware.
What a noob.
I've never done that.
Unbelievable. Yeah, never. Yes, I am on. We actually recorded the latest episode of Linux OTC today, which is just a fun, chatty show. It's Leo, Majid, and myself, and we just BS for an hour, which is fun.
I understand that.
And,
I do like that. That's fun.
Yeah.
Is OTC off the clock?
Off the cuff, more so.
Okay.
We actually kind of have fun with just making up dumb, like what can this acronym mean this
I thought
week?
it was over the counter.
Could be over the counter.
Over
Sure.
the counter. I like it.
I had something obtuse, something conversation once, and I just goofy. So yeah, we recorded that. Should be out, I guess, later this week, and I'm working on the episode 53, 54 of Distro Hoppers Digest, Mintcast, this stream, yeah, just all kinds of stuff. So yes.
More
You
fun
are
than a
correct.
barrel of monkeys.
Exactly.
I'm not really sure what that even means.
Who knows?
Also, how fun are monkeys in a barrel? That sounds dangerous.
I think it
How
all
big's the
depends on
barrel?
that. There's a
That's
lot of
true.
factors that because if they're too tightly packed, that might be a bad thing. But if it's a bigger barrel, then it might be
Let me
highly
ask you.
amusing.
Do you remember the game
Oh yeah,
from being a kid? The little hooked
I don't
monkey
remember how to.
arms.
I don't remember how to. play
Battle
it,
of
though.
Monkeys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about
times.
them, but yeah,
Good
good
times.
How, we should play that virtually somehow. I don't know. Is that-
And
is
these
that-
kids with their Minecraft and stuff.
I tell you, right?
Technology.
Back in my day.
well, now I have a local Minecraft server because it's necessary. But
yeah.
Get off my hard drive.
Yeah.
The spinning rust kind. Jason, you sometimes participate in a Sunday chat. Is that something you're going to be doing this Sunday?
Not tomorrow. No, I'll be out with the friends playing some Magic the Gathering. But I do join a and kind of like this type of show, but for retro Max. And there's a few of the people in the chat tonight that were part of that group, like Rudy's Retro Intel, Eric's Edge, Francois, and it's Dave's Vintage Apple Tech is the gentleman that puts on the little group kind of like this. They do it through I want to say Streamlabs or Stream something, one of those things, not like a Zoom meeting.
Streamlabs is popular.
Yeah, so Rudy probably tell me which one they use, but and we just get in there. A lot of times what they're doing, they're actually working on retro machines, like recapping and doing all that kind of stuff, and doing 3D printing of to make bezels and things like that to fix old broken plastics, and they're actually doing stuff on the show. Me, I usually join and keep track.
What's that mean?
But doing stuff.
I felt like that was a bit of a slight against us.
Actually working.
Yeah. Work.
Like Joe from jcm-1.com. He's on there building blue scuzzies that he sells on his stream.
That'd be cool.
Or on his website, excuse me, not on his stream, but on his website.
Well, one of the things I would like to be able to do is like hardware repair,
Streamlabs,
but also that requires you to do stuff.
I'd like to be able to do hardware repair, but I find I end up breaking things more than fixing them. So, and Francois does verify Streamlabs. Well, it was actually on that stream that I built my my MSI 8080 replica because it's something I wanted, and there's not really a good reason for that.
Yep.
All right, and if you haven't checked out Linux User Space, I didn't see Leo here tonight or Dan, but they're probably busy. But check that. They're on break right now, but they've been doing like some live streams weekly, and I like to hop in on those whenever I can. I'm on a podcast called Linux Out Loud. I have two fantastic co-hosts. Yes, I'm going to call them both fantastic, Matt and Wendy. Matt is an enabler in every sense.
Tell Matt.
Yeah, no. Well, he doesn't want. He does not listen to this anyway, so it doesn't matter. And then Wendy is like the mother that keeps us all in check. The adult in the room, and does a lot with 3D printing and robotics. And so we kind of chat about our tech journeys. So you can check that out. It's Linux Out Loud. And then I have a website called cubiclenate.com. I write things, and so if you care. Linux Saloon is part of the Tux Digital Network, so check out more great shows at tuxdigital.com. I want to thank you all for your support, however you do it, being a part of this conversation in both the Zoom meeting here, the YouTube stream, as well as everyone for watching the show after the fact. I want to thank everyone involved in making the Linux open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back into personal computer. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time, see yous.
All right.
I still love that sign off. So good.
Auf Wiedersehen. Well, I think we collaborated on that.
Linux responsibly. Yeah. I forgot. Like we were doing it. We were going back and forth with that sort of stuff, but like that, it's still good. I still love it.